Adventures in Imperfect Living. We have no idea what we're doing. Take one.
Adventures in Imperfect Living.
Greetings. This is a very different beginning to our weekly show, but we're really excited to bring a little bit of a change to our routine. My name is Jennifer Willits from RosaryArmy.com.
And I'm Lily Willits, her daughter.
And I'm Greg Willits, and I'm going to be drinking coffee in the background, mocking them.
I hope you can hear my husband's voice, but yes, we decided to kick things off a little different because our daughter, Lily Willits, if you remember, we mentioned that she was away at a very special camp that we want to tell you a little bit about, but more importantly, we just wanted to bring her into the show so that you can hear from her what her thoughts, her impressions of Morning Star Camp, which is located in way up north in New Hampshire. Like, she's literally the first Willits child and really family member to venture that far north in our country, so we're really excited. The New Hamster?
New Hamster. That's what I've been calling it, and people think I'm being serious.
So, Lily, we're so proud of you, for one, saying yes to even being willing to go on a summer camp. I know that was actually something that was pretty hard for you. The idea of going away for a week, away from mom and dad, with a bunch of kids that maybe you don't know, and you don't really know if it's a good idea or if it's really your bag to do this sort of thing. But finally, you said yes. What do you think led you to feeling ready to go?
I mean, it's a camp run by nuns, and I feel like that just seems so welcoming, and just, I've never been to a camp before, and just something about this camp really just felt different about the other ones. And I guess I really felt more called to go to this one, and it just seemed...
Everything just worked out. And actually, we spoke to our good friend, Father Jay Finelli, who was already familiar with this very camp run by the Slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, which they are based out of the Harvard, Massachusetts area. I believe they reside in or near the St. Benedict Center. There's like a large campus, many buildings out there. They have a long history, and but their camp that they run in the summertime, only for just a few weeks every summer, is actually located in New Hampshire, just about 2 or 3 hours away, perhaps, from their house. So Father Jay Finelli, a good longtime friend of our show, he is well aware of this place, and he has sent many young parishioners of the right age, between 10 and 16 is like the ideal age to go to this camp. And he's never heard anything but great stories from his young parishioners who attended the camp. So that was kind of like a vote of confidence for us. Like, if Father Jay says it's solid and it's a good camp, we already felt like, okay, we can trust it. And so we, as parents, we kind of sent our daughter sight unseen to this place, which was kind of scary. We were just trusting everybody and everything about this whole camp experience. We were just trusting.
Did you really got to worry about sending me to a camp that's run by nuns?
Well, that definitely helps. And these are not just any nuns. The Slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, they are living the life of total consecration to Jesus through Mary, according to the spirituality as promulgated by St. Louis Marie de Montfort. And since, if you may recall, Lily made her very first consecration this past Feast of the Annunciation in March, and she's wearing her beautiful kind of like a chain,
and you're never going to guess who made this. The nuns.
The nuns at the actual camp where we sent Lily this year. So we thought, this is too good to be true. We felt very safe with which order she was going to be with, and the nuns only worship and celebrate inside of the traditional Latin Mass, so they only work with priests who celebrate that rite, and they went to Mass every day in the traditional Latin Mass, which is really kind of hard to find. I don't know many Catholic summer camp for girls that can offer this. Now, there is a boys version. I think it's called the Montfort Retreat for boys. And so there's a schedule for them every summer. And then for girls, it's the Morning Star Camp. So if you've ever made your consecration and you've ever prayed the litany to the Blessed Virgin Mary, that is actually one of her titles, one of many beautiful names that we address our Holy Mother. And that is Morning Star, because she is the Morning Star. So we felt really good about sending her were there. And she didn't go alone, which was super cool. We actually convinced another family who goes to the same school as us, like, hey, how about you send your daughter too? So Lily's good friend, Meg, went with her.
Well, she's my best friend. And so it was really fun getting to go on a plane with your best friend all the way to Boston, which is just like an experience that I don't think a lot of ninth graders get. So I was very, very blessed to have that opportunity.
And I think the biggest part was mom and dad, or of any of them, were not allowed to be on this plane. It was just her and her friend flying as unaccompanied minors. So we have to give a huge, huge thank you to Captain Jeff, who really helped make all this possible for us. We had never done this method before flying, and he said, no, you want to do it this way. And he was very gracious in making lots of generous offers to us to help make this all happen for the two girls to have this experience. So we're always in the feeling a huge level of gratitude for you, Captain Jeff. So you got there, and how was it getting off the plane and seeing a nun waiting for you? Or was the nun there? Or how did that play out?
She was not at the gate. So we were a little confused there, but we were walked by like
one of the Delta escorts?
Yeah, one of the escorts. And so like as we're there, we literally run into someone that I know from school at the Boston airport. She wasn't even going to the camp. She was just like on a cruise there. And I was like, what are you doing here? She's like, what are you doing here? So we just like said hi and then moved on. So that was really cool. And then we went to the baggage claim. And like she wasn't really looking for us. She was just kind of like walking. And then Margaret was like, my friend was like, look, a nun. I was like, oh, you're who we're looking for. And so then we got my friend's bag, and hers arrived pretty quickly. And then my bag just took ages to arrive. And like, I literally missed it. And then the nun was like, is this it? And I was like, oh yeah, thanks. And so then we got on the bus, and we had to wait at the airport parking lot for 5 hours because one of the girls' flights got delayed, and she was all the way from California. So we were just trying to make the best out of the situation. Mm-hmm. We were in the airport little parking lot specifically for buses. Mm-hmm. So it's like super, super long like parking spaces. So I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with the Virginia Rail Dance. So we did that.
I'm not familiar with the Virginia Rail dance.
Describe it. It's this
Who started this?
The nuns. They were like, let's do the Virginia Rail. Like, okay. So we did.
Why don't you come back here into the open area and dance for everyone?
And so it's like,
I don't know if you can hear her dad yelling in the background, like backseat driver here, telling Lily to demonstrate this dance for our, YouTube audience, because the ones who are just listening can't really see us unless you watch us on YouTube, and then you could see us.
Here, I just turned on my microphone so they can actually hear me now. So
you have a microphone?
I'm laving it over here. So
very nice, very nice.
I'll pop in every once in a while and just, I have my controllers over here.
So you had a great time with the nuns. Everybody had a good attitude of just waiting and getting all the campers, collected in the bus, as you should, because parents are probably just worried, making sure the nuns are getting all the girls. And out of 100 campers on average for this 1 week session, about 20 of them flew from out-of-state locations, but the majority just simply drove in to the locations, which is always an option. Obviously, we did not have a choice. I mean, we could have tackled the drive, but it's like 18 hours.
Let me tell you, there was this little family from Texas. They drove 30 hours.
Wow. Okay, so we have no complaints.
No, nonstop. Like they said, the only bathroom breaks and to get food were the only stops they made, and I was just like, why?
So, again, why? That's a really compelling question.
And I said it's tradition. I'm like, what does that mean?
Well, some families do have these traditions with their daughters, and the camp is worth it. It's worth the drive. I think many parents who have young children, when they get into the summer months, they start trying to find a camp or a place to send their child for some kind of enrichment to still happen while they're waiting for school to resume. But many Catholic families want a safe place that matches their values. And dear listener, you are well aware of our journey as we have embraced more traditional Catholicism over the last year and a half. So that was important to us. We wanted to find a Catholic camp for girls that matched those traditions of our faith, and especially, wearing a chapel veil for Mass. Traditional Latin Mass was being offered, and we just couldn't believe that this camp really existed. And they've been there for 40 years. 40 years. I'm just now finding out about it. And there's a lot of people in the South who don't know anything about this camp. So hopefully we can change that and keep a nice, full, itinerary of campers always flooding up there to these camps so that they can maybe have more camps. And they will, I know there's one in Tyler, Texas. I don't know if it's a permanent location yet. And I think maybe at some point we just need to have one of the nuns on the show so we can ask her more of these details and share it with you.
There's also one in Louisiana and one in Washington. So
Washington, New Hampshire is the location that you went.
The DC
There's a Washington, D.C. version? Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't know that.
Not version, but can't.
Well, I know that I think the nuns will actually travel to different, they can be invited in. They were even in Fort Wayne, Indiana one year, because a parish hosted them and they ran a camp in one of the parishes. So there's a travel version of Morning Star Camp. And then there's one that's more like in a more permanent space, like where you were able to enjoy. So you get to the camp and you're finally, you're going to find out what cabin you're in, who your cabin mates are going to be. What surprised you about just how it all looked? Did it meet your expectations in terms of, I kind of saw it looking this way in my head?
I mean, I didn't really have much expectations to begin with. I thought it was a very quaint, cute little cabin. I mean, the mattress was like uncomfortable, but
typical retreat mattress.
Most mattresses are.
Was it
for
green?
Me.
Was it like a dark green color?
It was,
okay.
It was like a weird kind of stripy pattern, but I mean, it didn't really matter what it looked like because you're just gonna throw your sleeping bag on top of it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I thought the cabin was very cute. I had a weird obsession with sweeping it up because of how absolutely disgusting the floors were at all times because everyone's going into their super muddy shoes because it was raining for 2 days straight, and it was just like.
So what was a typical day? Like, let's say a mom is listening right now and she's got like a 12-year-old daughter and they're really interested about what am I going to do there? So what was a typical day?
So their schedule does change each day. They try to, but an average day would usually consist of, you'd wake up.
What time? How early did they wake you up?
7:15.
How did they wake you up?
So there would be a bugle. Then one of the nuns would play, and it'd be like
So there are bugle-playing nuns.
No, only one.
Just one who had the skills.
Yeah, that one nun could also play every other instrument ever.
Very musical nun. Okay.
And so, but the bugle is far away from our village because there's 3 villages with the cabins. We were in village 3. We were in the St. Christopher cabin. And so one of the nuns, she would knock on our door and be like, "Morning, girls, time to get up." And it's just like, it's a little weird because when you're like in a dream, you like wake up and you'll just be very like scatterbrained, but you have to go out of your cabin for morning prayers. And
like in your pajamas, or do they give you, okay.
Yeah, and so they, you open your doors and you have like these little prayer cards that's in your cabin, so you'll pass them out. And you're supposed to have like everyone in your cabin come out for these prayers.
And how many girls were in your cabin?
There were 8 girls in our cabin.
Okay, which I think is full capacity,
yes,
right?
Yes,
That's a small group.
I think only one cabin didn't have 8 girls, but other than that, everyone was at full capacity. So
you got your morning cards.
Yes.
You're tired. You're standing there in your pajamas. It's early.
So we're supposed to have all 8 girls come out on the stairs of the cabin for prayers. Only 3 came out every morning.
So there were some sleepy heads in the group.
Yeah, and so later that week, we were talking with the nun who wakes us up, and my friend, she was like, "Other cabins do that, right?" And she was like, "I have never seen a cabin like y'all's." And so we're just like, and we're like, "Oh." But I mean, I always got up. I looked miserable, but I mean, I was up, and sometimes I'd like mutter the prayers because they would be like, "Okay, now let's pray 3 Hail Marys for the virtue purity," and I'd be like,
"Okay."
So I mean, I was very tired, but I still try to go up on the steps.
So what was next after morning prayer? What'd you do?
They gave you like 30 to 45 minutes to get ready for mass, which you think plenty of time, but like it doesn't feel like plenty of time because you were like rushing, and then like because a 10-minute bell will ring before mass, and so when that 10-minute bell rings, it's like immediate panic mode. Like you're like, I gotta go. So, I mean, you gotta like brush your teeth, you gotta get dressed, you gotta kind of clean up your cabin before cabin inspection, And
Oh,
so
how often was cabin inspection?
every morning.
Every morning before Mass or after Mass?
After Mass, technically, but
Okay.
after Mass, you go to breakfast. And so you try to keep your cabin clean in that area because it's the best window.
Okay.
Because right after breakfast, you have to go to catechism. And during catechism is when they do your cabin inspection.
Okay.
So in that little window is really where you can do your deep clean for the cabin. I mean, you have other areas to like pop in quickly and clean up, but that's like your best window right there.
Okay. So you're going in for breakfast and you're probably thinking, man, I don't know where they're going to serve me. I'm, like,
no, there's a line.
I mean, there's a line?
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, was it good? I mean, good food?
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome?
I was really surprised. Like there were nights.
Because food's important,
We
you
had
wanna be
lasagna
well-fed.
one night. Like
Ooh.
they fed us really, really well. Like
Okay.
I think I don't even have a guess of how many calories I had that week, but it's a lot.
A lot of calories.
It was so much food. We had dessert after lunch and dinner.
So
and
did you
so-
just kind of stay with your St. Christopher cabin group, or did you just sort of scatter out
We
and do your own thing?
Well, my friend and I, we made another friend who was in our cabin, so we kind of like had a little trio, and we just kind of stuck together. But we also we would just kind of not do our own thing, but stick together, but not stick together, if that makes sense.
Well, were the nuns talking to you while you were eating breakfast? Was there any
Sometimes.
guidance from the leaders?
Well, I mean, not necessarily guidance, but like once we get our breakfast, you'd go to this outdoor table area, and you'd sit there and you just eat your breakfast, and whoever sits with you,
You're just going to talk to that person.
yeah. And so usually a nun would usually try to sit with a group, and not because they have to, but just because they just want to.
So you went to the session that was designed for, it's called the teen camp. It's the only one that they offer in a summer season, and it's for 13 to 16-year-old girls. And so that you kind of felt like that was the best match of age to be with, because I mean, there's gonna be some other high schoolers there, which is always nice. But the other sessions they skew a little younger. They're like 10 to 14, and there are 2 of those. And then there's a leadership camp, and that's it. There's only 4 shots every summer to get into this camp.
The age groups are quite significant, because if you want to still be a part of the camp, but you're much older, like there's a 23-year-old and she was a counselor.
Yes.
And so you can have counselors like in their 20s. Like if you just still want to, like if you grew up with this and you're not ready to leave it yet, you can be a counselor and you can still be a part of that. And I feel like the counselors, they were really fun. They're just like, they're still like, they don't care. They're like, oh yeah, we can do that. Sure.
So what were some of the land-based activities that they made available to you?
Well, it did rain for 2 days. So we had to do for like the first 2 days, rainy day activities. But I mean, we would have sports time.
So what's an example of sports?
Well,
like
they
what
had
sport?
multiple sports areas. They had a basketball area, they had a soccer area, they had an archery area, they had a volleyball area, all those little areas. So you would just kind of go. And they also
Which one did you do?
I did archery one time, and I shot a single arrow because there was a huge line of girls, and so that's all you could really do.
This is like at Six
And-
Flags. You're like, that line's too long. I'm not doing it.
But
you pick another activity.
I mainly did volleyball.
Okay.
And it was really fun because everyone there just wants to play volleyball. There were only like 2 girls who were like very competitive, and we're like,
Okay.
yo, let's just have fun. But
Please don't spike the ball.
I
and
know,
hit
like
me.
they were just like, come on, pull it together. I'm just like,
Wow. Okay. Well, there's always a few competitive girls in the group. So, and then there were also water-based activities because you
Yes.
were conveniently located near a lake.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of that?
so before you could really do any waterfront activities, you have to take the swim test. And so the day that the swim test happened was like right after a big thunderstorm. So the water's freezing. So when we go into the water, it feels like 30 degrees. And
I have no doubt.
I'm being serious. So I go in, and about 15 seconds later, my body is completely numb, so I was fine. So
Didn't that hurt though? That numbing process?
no, it was really quick. So like
Okay.
you go in, and you're like, actually, I'm fine. And
I'm
so
alive.
The swim test was really easy. You have to tread water for a minute, and then you have to swim that distance.
Really, like 12 inches?
No, yeah, just
She's
lay
like,
there.
like this, just from here to here.
Well, that's.
But
yeah.
they gave you a point A and a point
Yeah,
B,
it
swim
was-
to there and come back.
It was a short distance because you'll have like a little beach area, like a little boarded off area where everyone's allowed to swim, but you have to go with a counselor if you want to go outside that area.
Okay. So swimming was the thing. Any watercraft, like kayaks or boats? Like what? Talk about that.
Kayaking, canoeing, sailing, or just swimming. And so I kayaked and I swam. Those were the two activities that I did. I didn't want to... I mean, going sailing would be cool, but I didn't have like this passion to go sailing. And a lot of girls did, so I wanted them to go because I didn't.
Was there a long line for that
I'm pretty sure. I didn't see, but I'm pretty sure. And I just really... Unless if it was like right there in front of me, like, oh, come on, then I would go. But
was there any wildlife that you could see? Like any big fish swimming around? That was cool. Well,
I didn't see any of the fish, but I know girls who went fishing caught, like one girl caught a 19-inch fish.
What?
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, and they had a record chart.
I'm sorry, Ben. You're still hoping to catch something bigger than 2 or 3 inches. Our son, who has fishing poles, still hasn't caught any fish yet.
But they went out on a boat.
Oh, well, that helps.
Yeah, in the middle of the
That's
lake.
a really big deal.
They weren't just like on the edge, and then they're like, oh,
it wasn't
wow.
You're not fishing off the bank. You gotta go deep water.
Yeah, and so they had a fishing raffle, and I really wanted to get picked, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. But I did eventually get picked, but that was a day that I just didn't want to go in the water. Okay. And so I was like, oh yeah, just pick someone else.
So were water activities happening every day? Or
yes.
Okay.
If it wasn't raining, then yes.
Okay.
But if you don't want to do anything involving the water, they have lanyards and crocheting. So I made lanyards for I think 2 days I made lanyards. Okay. And
there's always an element of arts and crafts, but I got a bracelet, and so I'm holding it up to the camera now so that you can see there's a particular kind of weave and stitch that you were taught.
It's called the butterfly weave, and one of the sisters showed me how to do it, and so like she had to start the first one I made. She started off and just tell me when you get it, and she got pretty far, and I was like, okay, I got it. And so then
You're at the end,
and so there's like a big there's a good chunk of it that's like perfectly made, and then the rest is me. Oh. So but I mean,
you learned.
I caught on like that one, like the one that I just showed the camera, and like a pink one.
And the one that you gave to your father, who turned it into like a little drink identification badge kind of thing. No, you got to go toward you because that's how the camera will focus, is when you have it near your face.
You want it? It's a
yes.
pink. It's a pink.
Our
bracelet.
viewers can see it. Well, that sounds really great. And the other side that I was pretty relieved to hear, it was more than just being busy and doing one activity, another activity. But the sisters were really good about weaving in a little sense of their spirituality, the life that they are leading, which they do pray the Liturgy of the Hours. And so they kind of invited the girls to sort of participate in that daily rhythm of prayer. So what was a typical, you had mass around 8 o'clock in the morning, but what was the next prayer moment that you did without fail every day?
Well, I'm not going to count catechism because that wasn't really prayer.
Yeah, it's a class.
We were just we were learning. It was religion class. But next would be 5 p.m. We would do Rosary and Benediction. So
what about noon? At noon? Did you do something at noon?
Yeah, we do the Angelus, but we never like, okay, everyone get your veils on and let's go to this. Okay. No, that literally wherever we were. They just put, like we'd be doing little music classes, which I did baton. So like literally we'd be twirling baton and then be like, oh, Angelus bell. Okay, everyone put your batons down. The angel of the Lord declared unto, and so
I think that's really pretty great. Like there's all this motion and activity happening at the camp, but when that bell rings, everyone stops and prays, which is how it was.
Yes.
Hundreds of years ago, when you have workers, laborers in the field, when that bell rang, they put down their gardening tools or whatever they were working with, and they stood and they prayed. And it's just a beautiful practice. And I know that there's some Catholics who still maintain that practice today. I know the Barons are really good about using their modern technology. They'll have their little Google devices saying, it's time to pray the Angelus. and it's like, you can't even pronounce it right? Okay. So I'm happy to hear that you did that too.
And we asked our Google, just like, remind us to pray the Angelus. But she just says, reminder for Jennifer. That's all she says.
I'm not telling you what to do. Just do something now.
We know it's the Angelus, so we'll pray.
Okay, so you at 5 o'clock you did Rosary and Benediction, and then anything after the 5 o'clock prayer?
After that, we'd have dinner, I believe.
And when was Compline?
Complin.
Oh, Compline.
Took me a minute to say that, but Meg kept going. It's Complin.
Compline? Okay. Okay.
Anyway, that would be like very, very late, like after all the...
Like right before bed?
Yeah, like after all the activities. So it would usually be closer to 10. So like very late, and we're all like really tired. But somehow I was very, very giggly in the chapel at times, like because I would always... All these funny thoughts would pop into my head, and I just go like in the chapel, and like so girls like look over and they're like, and I'm just trying to keep my brain focused.
Yes, as well you should.
I know, and I kept being like, Lord, please help me not to think about any distracting or funny thoughts.
Okay, so you had fun activities on land, fun activities in the water. The food was great, wonderful prayer, wonderful spiritual lessons from the sisters. Other typical camp moments usually involve fire and song.
Campfire!
So, yeah, so talk about campfires and music.
Okay, so they had these schedules that were posted on the walls and one of the things outside. So we would have a morning schedule, an afternoon schedule, and an evening schedule. So the evening schedule was the one that really was different from the other schedules that try to stick to like, we always do this every day. So for evening, we would usually have campfire. We had campfire like 3 times. And other nights we'd have like a movie night or dance night. Those were the 2. Like
You had a dance night?
we had a dance night.
That was separate from talent show night.
Yeah.
What? You didn't tell me about dance night.
I didn't?
No.
Oh.
What kind of dance?
All dances. We did Cotton Eye
What
Joe.
music were you dancing to?
I don't know, just some instrumental stuff they put on.
Instrumental. Because I was like, this will be interesting to see what the nuns
no, we
choose.
weren't like dancing to Gregorian chant.
I mean, no, you wouldn't do that. But I mean, they let's talk about the contraband policy.
Okay.
Because that's kind of cool that they have this.
So-
because when campers arrive, they bring some things with them, like maybe books or cell phones.
Right.
What would the nuns do?
So, for all cell phones and some books and other little things, a nun would come and she's like, okay, let me see your books. And so she, like their rules, they were like, it could be something as we just don't like the cover or the title, or it could be we actually know this book and we don't want you reading it. And then they'll take it away. But so.
With a smile on their face.
So.
With love.
So my book was Contraband, and it was The Book Thief. I still haven't read it.
So it's just out of safety because they really, I think, consider themselves to be spiritual guardians of all of you while you're in their care for that 1 week. And so they have this like a Rubbermaid tub called Contraband. And so any of these like, cell phone devices with internet, it's not that the girls can't ever have it again, but it's just like for now, we're going to retire it into this place. We're going to safeguard these articles of your possession for you.
We're allowed to have them in free time.
Yeah. And then you can have it back during free time. And that way the girls are not distracted with it or tempted by any of it during actual camp session times. So did you... okay, I hear laughter in the background. What's happening?
I needed the water, okay, Dad?
No, that's fine. So Lily just drank from my glass of water that's on the desk, and I'm totally fine with that. Oh, where am I? There am I. Hey.
There am I?
No, he's trying to find his head in the video
Yeah, I
feed
know,
right
I know.
now.
She did that, but what was funny, and if you're watching the video, you would have seen her. It's like she drank from the water, and then she turned around and looked at me like, "I just drank your water." And so that's what was fun. I was like, I don't care that you drink my water, but it's like the fact that you turned to check to make sure you saw that, or that I saw.
Yeah, it's because I want you to know, because I don't know.
Because you're so considerate of me. I appreciate that.
So the nuns were gracious, and I think were they curious as to why you or how you heard of Morning Star Camp? I would think that would be a very common question for the nuns to ask the girls, like, how did you hear about us? This is like your first time here.
For breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you set a table, and usually a nun would come and sit either near you or like with you, and they want to know about you. So they're just like, so what's your name? How old are you? Where are you from? so how do you know about Morning Star? I think we were asked that question about 12 times. Like, how do you know about Morning Star? So I go, oh, well, my parents know Father Jay Finelli. And they were all like, oh. And so...
How do they know him?
So like, how do they know Father Jay? And it's just like, well, I think it's because of the Eucharistic Congress or because they're podcasters and... One of those, I'm not sure.
I'm just a kid. I don't pay attention to those details.
And they're just like, oh, wow.
That's so sweet.
And then just like move on. But like we keep being asked that question. Then they'd ask my friend, they're just like, so how do you know the camp? And she would just go,
her. This girl.
Yeah, and so, but sometimes I'd ask her first. And then she'd just point to me and wouldn't have to do any talking. And then I would have to say the...
So favorite nun memory? She has one.
Alrighty. So, Meg and I, we were walking to the waterfront area. And as we're walking, we see this black pickup truck being drove in reverse really fast. And I'm like, that's impressive. And then I see it's a nun driving the black pickup truck really fast. And I'm like, that's even more impressive. And this nun, as she's like speed reverse driving this black pickup truck, has enough time to turn to us and wave. And so we're just like... I'm just in awe, but I just like, and so, I mean, it was just a small little memory that I just really
cherish
loved.
forever.
And also, I have memories of just nuns eating pizza in a bus in the airport, and it's just like, or at the airport parking lot. And it's just like,
speaking of the airport, you did share a moment that I never considered whenever a nun has to travel.
Oh,
and especially has to go through TSA at a major airport.
All right, I mean, do you want to say
Yeah,
that?
you
Okay.
can tell the story. You saw it.
We have to go through security. So they're patting us down because this is the Boston airport. So they're like, they're
Patting you down. That's part of protocol.
Here, this was my pat down.
Oh, okay. Audience, she's spinning me around and demonstrating that she just rubbed my shoulder blade very lightly.
That was it.
That was the extent of the pat down you received.
And that was it. And so it was so sad because the sister who's our escort and went with us, she got a super, super long pat down because of the habit. And because it's just like she has...
It's many layers.
Yes. It's so many. And so hers was maybe like a minute.
That's not too bad. Some pat downs literally can be 10 minutes. They will hold you aside.
I mean, it was a while though. It was just.
But she just had to stand there and take it.
I know,
and that was you felt a little bit.
And afterwards, she was just like, "It's just we're just used
life.
to it," and so we're just like, the girls who were with her, just like, what do they think you're hiding? Like you're a nun. You think that you're gonna have like all these weapons?
Well, that probably is what they're thinking because it's a lot of fabric to hide.
They just went through this high-tech security system where you stand there like...
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, like
so nothing got flagged.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they went through like 2 other security areas that are high-tech technology and they're still patting her down. It's like, okay.
So you learned a lot of things. You got to experience somewhat independent travel, and you now know you can do it. You can navigate airports and get from point A to point B and just really be open to new experience. You were in a new state. Just experiencing new wildlife, new weather, being around a bunch of girls that you've never seen, and you've shared on the show previously, and plus we've also shared with our listeners that you are just praying about being open to a possible vocation for yourself. Did this help you in that process? Did you see something here that still keeps you like, yeah, I still want to keep thinking about this?
I would say that. Like, I still want to keep thinking about it, but I mean, it's really, it's kind of getting a little stressful now because I am just 14 and I don't need to know my vocation at this moment in my life. Sure, it'd be nice to know, but I mean, I feel like I'm stressing about it too much at this moment, and it's God's plan, so it's really just up to Him. So there's some people who are like, so you're going to be a nun, are you excited? I'm just like, okay.
Hold on,
I'm 14, God's plan. And so those are my 2 points, just like.
But I was talking to your friend's mother. I'm like, listen, I understand that our daughter is very open with sharing with her friends at school that she is thinking about being a nun, but sometimes that's exactly the openness that other kids need to see. Is they need to see an example of someone their age thinking about it. So you never know the impact you're going to have on the peers who are silently watching you from afar, because you're planting a seed of witness by just being open at this young age. So you never know how that seed will germinate 10 years from now. And maybe a friend of yours that you don't even realize is going to be a religious person in the future, but we'll tie back to this moment of your present and go, you know what? I saw this girl in my school named Lily, and she wanted to be a nun, and now they're thinking about it 10 years from now. And that you're part of their story, and you had no idea that you are. I mean, that's how things work with God, and it's so beautiful. And so keep being open, keep praying, and you are going to be exactly where God wants you to be. I have no doubt about this. And I'm so proud of you for going and sort of witnessing and in your own way, but being open and learning about more about your faith. And so now, it's not a funny thing, but it's something that
Can I say one thing about that?
Sure, go ahead.
So, Lily, did you know that when I was in my early 20s, before I met your mom, that I actually considered the priesthood?
No.
There was a brief period of time where I sincerely thought about it. Father Leo, the priest who married your mom and me and a couple of my siblings, he taught at a seminary, taught Latin and Greek, and I drove from Cincinnati to Columbus and spent the day with him. And this is the priest that taught me how to drive on the highway. I mean, I've known this priest my whole life. Went up and talked to him, and he was the one who originally had planted the seed. And when I was in high school, I've never told you this story. When I was in high school, I was working at Wendy's, and I came home from Wendy's one day. And at that time, this is the summer between my sophomore and junior year, all I wanted was a girlfriend. All I wanted was a girlfriend. I just wanted a girlfriend. And I came home from work at Wendy's, and I don't know if I was thinking about it at that very moment, but I was very, very, not consumed, but very focused on girls. Came home, there was a letter for me from the Archdiocese of Cincinnati Vocations office. And I'm like, what in the world is this? And I opened it up, and it said, a priest faculty member at this seminary recommended that you might be a good candidate for the priesthood. And so I'm 16, right? I just started crying. I'm like, this is all you have for me, God? I have to be a priest? Really? You're going to make me be a priest? Are you serious? And then I didn't want to do anything about it for the next several years. But when I was about 21 years old, I started going, well, maybe I need to be open to it. And I went and visited him. Well, then I kind of went off the rails. I'm like, nope. And then I went to California, and I went all over the country. I ran away. Well, but then after about 3 or 4 years, I met your mom. And so, but looking into it, right? At least being open, like your mom just said, just be open, and God will lead you to where you're supposed to be if you're open to it. So there you go.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks for sharing.
I got a little shocked because I heard the door moving because I think Marty's on the other side.
One of the cats are trying to bust in the studio. Okay, so big question. Do you want to go back?
Yes.
Why would you want to go back? You know exactly what's there. You want to do it again?
Yes.
Same things?
Yes, same thing.
Wow.
I want to go through that experience again, already knowing it before, because that doesn't really make much sense. But I'm going to give an example. There were girls there who had been a year before, and years before. There are girls who this is my 5th time going. I love it so much. And
wow.
Or more than 5 times. Just girls who have just loved it. And this is an experience I want to go through again. And it's just, I just had a great time. And I just really, really want to do that. Well,
we're going to do everything in our power to make it happen for you. We want you to go because we believe in the good work these sisters are doing. Hopefully at some point in the future, we're going to have one of the nuns on as a guest so that you can hear directly from the nun what this experience is like. And it's a big answer to a lot of questions that parents have throughout the country. Like, what do I do with my Catholic girl? I want to send her to a really fun and holy, virtuous camp. Or boy, that's right. And we'll probably have a representative from the brothers to speak to the boys' camp, because that is another place that parents just I want to send my kids somewhere safe. And so we're really, really pleased to have discovered them in the last year. And it was just great. We felt very relaxed and comforted that she was in good hands, that the Blessed Mother was had all those girls wrapped in her mantle for the whole week, and it was wonderful. Lily, I think you did a fantastic job of representing your experience very well and sharing that experience with our audience, and I think you did great.
So you want to see? Hold on, here, I'll just borrow your microphone now because I turned off my lav mic. You want to see what I did while y'all were talking and jabbering on about that?
Sure.
And
were you drawing?
I drew
doodling?
See,
I knew it.
Wow.
How did you know it?
In my brain, I was like, I knew
Don't
that you
go
were,
too close. It's blurry. Gotta back up.
I knew he was.
Here, I'll just take a picture of it and I'll send it to Ben Barron.
I
so
knew
he
that
he can edit it in.
I knew he was sketching, and I was like, he's drawing the back of our heads.
That is awesome. Okay, hop off the
good
chair.
Job. Get out of here. Let your mom and I take over the show. And good job. You can sit in the back if you want, or you can leave.
What if Marty's on the outside? Do we need to get a shot?
Well, hey, greetings. That was kind of
You're
nice.
late to the show, Greg.
I'm late to the show, and now I can't get. There we go. Bye, Lily.
Bye,
good job.
Lily.
You did a
Good job. Okay.
That was pretty good.
How'd that feel being on the background like that?
Oh, it's so nice not having to.
Speak.
I get so. Listen. I get so tired of my voice, and just because. I mean, sometimes like even when we're praying the Rosary in the car or something like that, I'm like, talking is takes so much work out of me these days. Particularly, it's like because I'm always doing audiobooks or whatever and doing this. And,
you know what? That's a fair point. I never really considered that reality of how often you are hearing your own voice and having to do some form of editing with it.
Well, even like
I don't have that concern.
Right now, I'm on this mad dash to get all of these videos edited for Total Consecration for School of Mary. Yesterday, I worked on one of the aspects of like week 3 of Total Consecration preparation is you have all these prayers every day, but in week 3 you start praying a rosary every day. And we decided for School of Mary that we would record a 15-decade rosary, and we did it video. I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of boring just looking at me and Jennifer praying a rosary. So what can I do to make it more interesting? And so I was putting the words up and that kind of thing, and then I figured out a way.
Well, you called me in to have a conversation.
Well, because it wasn't sitting well with me.
Right.
And I'm like,
I don't know what to do.
And I wanted to make sure. Well, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't sitting well with you either. Just seeing us praying. And you're like, yeah, put the words up. All right, put the words up. And then you had said something about putting a rosary up, and I'm like, I don't know if I could put a rosary up because I had a similar thought. And while I was editing it, I suddenly realized, oh wait, I might be able to do something like this because I was going to put up one at a time, and then I figured out I could do very, very basic animation in using the video editing program, Premiere Pro, and I figured out how I could make it so that I have this decade on the bottom, and Our Father and 10 Hail Marys, and I can animate that going by. Well, so this comes back to hearing my voice all the time. We did a 15-decade rosary, so I had to edit 150 keyframes, basically 150 plus keyframes, where I had to make it so that the rosary was getting filled in on the screen at the exact moment that the prayer ended. Well, the prayer began and then ended. So it was me at the beginning and then you at the end. And so it's like Hail Mary, and then I fast forward and I'd hear at the hour of our death, Amen, from you, right?
Yeah.
So it's like and I'd see the waveform. Anyway, my point is, the last couple of days, just hearing my voice over again, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary,
it's
Hail
like
Mary,
in your
150
head.
times, plus all the other prayers that there's a lot of prayers that go into this. So yeah, I'm a little tired of all the other videos that we're doing we've already recorded, and I'm editing them now to get them so we can wrap up this first aspect of School of Mary and launch it. It's going well.
It really is. It's exciting.
It's a lot of work. If you're subscribed to our newsletter for Rosary Army, I actually sent out a email a few days ago that had a screenshot of School of Mary in it. If you could write down, what did I just say a minute ago? I'm gonna send an image of what I drew to Ben.
Okay.
And then a screenshot of School of Mary. So if we can remember it, we'll put up a screenshot, kind of a preview of what's coming attractions of School of Mary.
So you want the screenshot?
Yeah. Ben could put that up right here.
Okay.
So it's very exciting seeing it coming together.
the initial offerings, it won't be everything, right? The idea of this is, college doesn't open up and have every class that they'll ever teach available on day one, right? That's
humble beginnings.
It's you start off with the core stuff. Mm-hmm. Last week, you and I recorded, and that was another thing, right? I edited all these videos for our Getting a Rosary pathway, which included like a history of Rosary Army. It included, some prayer meditation type stuff and talking about the history of the Rosary and that kind of thing. So listening to our voices, I sit here for 8 hours a day just hearing
this is the job.
Hearing us talk. And,
this is the job.
And it's right now, it's just temporary because right now, we're doing all this build-up work so that we can do even more creative things. I'm really excited to start doing more creative things. I have ideas that are percolating that would require more time, but I want to get these core courses out and running and going. So we'll have the Getting a Rosary learning pathway. We'll have a basic one for making the rosaries and praying the rosaries that I want to expand, but we'll just kind of reuse some of our current content for those 2 learning paths at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then those will get swapped out and new stuff will get added over time. But then this total consecration one, that's the major one. And that's the one we're most excited by. And just honestly, if you haven't consecrated yourself to Jesus through Mary, what a life changer, what a game changer this is. And the one good thing of hearing our voices over and over and over again the last few days is being reminded again of how vital this content is.
Yeah, I wondered if you would have that feeling.
Yeah, it's
being
just,
reminded.
St. Louis de Montfort, it's such good stuff. Such good stuff.
It's not us, it's all him.
Yeah,
We're
really
just trying to tell you about what he said. And what's great about this particular series is that you could use it as your first time or as a renewal aid. And it's there for you as much as you need it or as little as you need it. And it's just this great, I think it's going to be a wonderful and important resource for a lot of people to consecrate for the first time who've never done it.
And the other thing, I've just been very pleased with, some of the, how I am about. I like processes. I like when things are working well in terms of like I do this and I do this and I do this and I have all my steps and the steps are making things more productive. I've been editing a downloadable total consecration workbook.
Oh, right.
As I've been editing the videos. So for each day as I'm editing the video, I'm doing the pages for that. And so there's the prayers of St. Louis de Montfort, and then just a simple journal page, but it's putting everything in one place. And we've talked about this in the past. Our idea in doing this is that you can download this PDF, and it'll be significant in size. It'll be about 100 plus pages, I think, when all's said and done. You download it, double-sided, 3-hole punch it, stick it in a nice notebook, and when you're going through your total consecration, you can write down your thoughts, your prayers, what were your struggles or the good stuff, the movements of the Holy Spirit, and then each year when you renew it, you use the same notebook and go back and you can sort of revisit and see your growth.
What if you want a new notebook for each time?
Yeah, sure.
You do it. That way it stays like everything that happened on this particular renewal date is in this like booklet, and then you have like a little library of booklets or little journals. I
also plan on, I don't know if I'm going to have this at launch, just because I know like Angie and a few other people and myself, I am going to try to see if I can make printed versions available on demand from Amazon. It's not a high priority for me because I have to set up a whole new account. Like Rosary Army doesn't have an account. Mm-hmm. That our current account was under Willits Works. And that's a big rigmarole, but I really do like the idea of like if you don't want to print all this out and you just want to pay however much Amazon's going to charge for that workbook,
it's an option.
$10-15, whatever it is, that they could just click a button and boom, it shows up in a couple of days.
Now, I haven't seen the layout in a while.
Okay.
And I understand that there are journal pages that you have built into the book.
Yep.
Are they scattered throughout? Like there's a kind of a pattern that you've established, like, okay, each day in the consecration cycle, like day 21, 22, 23, has its own journal page.
That is correct.
Is there an option? Sometimes, people get like, I have a lot to say today. Can they have, I just need extra journal pages, and you leave the day blank so that they can append it in their notebook for overflow pages?
I can just say additional notes.
I think that would be helpful because having done a devotion before.
Yeah.
And there are some days like I don't really have much to say.
Here,
that's okay. And then there are days I'm writing 5 pages worth of content, and I would like my journal to be able to be flexible in that regard.
There, I just made 3 extra additional notes pages that you can copy over and over again here on the fly while we're doing the show.
That's my husband. That's what he does.
So, yeah.
Okay.
You're all set.
Stay focused. Stay
I'm gonna
focused.
go back
This
to the
is
workbook.
not exciting audio for people listening to you click on your computer mouse.
Well, the point, though, is like we're getting super close. And
Yes,
again,
we are.
To all of you who donated to Rosary Army during our giving campaign, this is the fruit of your generosity to make this happen, and we just cannot thank you enough. If you didn't donate during the giving campaign, there'll be another one coming up in Advent, or you can donate now if you want over at rosaryarmy.com/donate. We're making progress. We wouldn't have been able to do it without you, to be able to hire the people that are helping us to make all these things come together. There is no way. I mean, earlier in the year, I was like, I'm just going to sign up for one of these, learning management systems that is out of the box. You just start plugging. There's just no way it would have worked. I needed to have this partnership with Fiveable to make it happen. There's just no way I could have pulled it all off.
Rosary Army is not a normal website.
Yeah.
It is like one of a kind. So it needed a custom approach because it's just too, there's just nothing like it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's why these companies exist, is to help companies like us. So it's a great partnership.
I will say, even though I said that we're going to have another giving campaign in Advent, you can wait for that. We never met our goal, right? We raised about $150,000 of our $200,000 goal. And a lot of this is going towards the technology and the infrastructure of School of Mary for the future. We had a significant shortfall, and we've just sort of been cutting corners and making it work. So I will throw that out there that if you want to donate now and donate again at Advent when we do our next giving campaign, that'd be fantastic. Lily did so good. It was really nice to be sitting back there. She mentioned the different prayers that they were praying with the nuns. That was one thing I thought that we could talk about, but I think we'll save it for a future episode of when prayer routines change. And that's something that definitely in my life that I have this pattern of 1 or 2 year cycles of doing things, and then I need something new. A renewal of my own prayer life and that kind of thing. And I wish it wasn't the case with that. I wish I could just stick with the same thing. The rosary seems to be the only thing that's consistent, but in terms of my prayer and study, that changes. So I don't know. That might be something we talk about in a future episode. If you have thoughts on that or questions that you want to ask us, you can send those to us at feedback@gregandjennifer.com. If you want to record them, we'd love that. To hear your voices and see your faces. You can do it video or audio, record it on your phone or however you want to record it. Go over to rosaryarmy.com.wetransfer.com. Did I say rosaryarmy.com? Forget the .com. rosaryarmy.wetransfer.com. And you can upload it right there. Super easy. But if I just confused you with my words and you're watching the video, look at the screen. It shows you how to do it. That's all. So there you go.
All right.
You look so lovely. So you got all prettied up for the podcast, and then what are you gonna do for the rest of the day? Looking so nice.
I think I can say this. It's kind of like a double header and getting a lot of bang for my buck. I wanted
bangs for your buck?
No bangs. I am totally never doing bangs again. I learned that lesson the hard way.
Must be nice to have that choice,
right? But we decided to accept an invitation by our neighbors because we gotta love our neighbors. That's like a major Catholic call to action. Love your neighbor. It's literally the people who live next door to you.
It's easier to love the people over there than it is the people over there.
So the people over there,
they're really nice to us.
They're
not really nice to us.
Yeah. So we're gonna do one of those. It's called Paint and Sip, and this is like a supular.
Supular? It's a supular event that we're going to do.
Oh, no, I did it again. I made a new word.
Yeah, new word.
Just like that, a new word.
Supular. Drinking and painting is apparently supular. I'll remember it.
It's like little veggies and now supular. No. This is a supular popular event creeping up in many cities where there is this painting and alcohol, like paint some picture but have a glass of wine at the same time. One, I guess it will relax you so that you don't feel intimidated by painting this image on a canvas and to see how well you can match the example picture that you are modeling
Oh,
off
this isn't
of.
freeform painting? We got to paint what they're showing us.
Usually there is a print that we're all trying to do.
What's
However,
the fun in that?
it's fun to see how close you can get because no one will do it the same. Everyone will have a different approach to painting the same image.
Well,
and some are going to get closer than others.
I'm going to paint a Picasso tonight.
So it's also helping a small local business. They just are a new brewery that opened up in town. And this is kind of, you can sense it's a little bit of a fundraising event for them. It's hard for new restaurants to get a strong opening. And so it's kind of helping that out, bonding with our neighbors a little bit, get to know them better, and have a glass of wine and paint an image. So we come home with a canvas that we'll show you on the next show. We'll just hold up our canvases.
You say that we will. I don't know if we will. It depends on how good they turn out.
So, and Lily has wonderful plans with the Barons. I think they're going
With Juan.
the Spaniard to medieval times, which there's a couple locations in the country, but there's one in Atlanta that they're going to go to.
Real quick, tell a Juan story. Jennifer had a hankering for our homemade family tacos. Which
It's
if you're
been a long time.
Long-time listeners know it's a thing. Our rehearsal dinner when we got married was a taco party with fried taco shells and that kind of thing. You had a hankering for them,
Yes.
invited the Barons over. Unfortunately, something came up and Catherine wasn't able to be there.
And they'll tell you all about why on their show. So we're going to let them have all that storytelling.
Mac and Ben and Juan and Jude all came over for dinner. Juan from Spain, we're feeding him tacos, and I said the joke that I say to everyone who comes over for tacos for the first time. I said there's a 5 taco minimum.
5? I thought it was a 3.
No, 5 tacos.
You keep increasing it.
No one can eat 5 tacos, but I said
it's
5
impossible.
taco menu minimum for newbies. Well, Juan ate 4.
So he took
Little
it
Juan.
seriously.
He took it very seriously, and I didn't get to hear the accolade, but he was like, "These are the best tacos."
He said, I must confess, this is the best tacos I've ever had. I must confess.
I must confess.
So hilarious. And so he's just a sweet kid.
Forgive me, Father, for I have eaten tacos. So that's it.
It was a great evening with them. Super fun. And so we are just so delighted that you stuck it out with us again and watched us or listening to us, and especially, hearing Lily's story. This is like the longest she's ever been on our show.
Great.
But please pray for the Barons. You'll know why soon enough. Please pray for them.
Yep. I mean, see, that's so. By the time they hear this, 2 weeks from now, we're behind the scenes.
We'll continue praying for the Barons.
They'll know already.
And
If
you will already be
If you
praying
don't know,
for
you
them.
can probably go listen to a show and you'll find out. So not to be all ominous. It's something that has probably happened already that you've listened to if you listen to both of our shows. Thank you for being here with us. Pray your rosary every single. Is that my line or yours? Yeah, pray your rosary every single day.
And do whatever it takes to be virtuous, reverent, and holy.
So glad that I hit the wrong button, but that does it. There.
You're so glad that you hit the wrong button?
No, let me try that again. Pray your rosary every single day.
And do whatever it takes to be reverent, holy, and devout.
Oh.
No, devout, reverent,
Something.
and holy, and virtuous.
We'll talk
All
to you
of
again
those.
in a few days, folks. God bless.
Bye.